Lesson 5.6, Find Rational Zeros. A lot of time is spent finding zeros of functions because if you use a function for an equation, you can always make it equal to 0. And then if you find the zeros, you've solved your equation. You've solved your problem. So today we're going to find rational zeros. Remember, rational zeros are rational numbers can be written as fractions. It's rational. So we want all the zeros that can be written as fractions. The rational zeros be in the form of a p divided by a q, where p is a factor of the last constant term, and q is a factor of the leading coefficient. So let's list all the possible rational zeros of this function. So the p's are factors of the constant term, which is the 9. So factors of 9 are 1, 3, and 9. Because 1 times 9 makes 9, or 3 times 3 makes 9. We have pluses and minuses because it might be negative 1 times negative 9, or negative 3 times negative 3. Q's are factors of the leading coefficient. In this case, it's a 2. So the factors of 2 are 1 times 2. And again, we have pluses and minuses because they might be negative 1 times negative 2. So the p's over q's are all the possible p's divided by all the possible q's. So it'd have 1 over 1, 1 over 2, 3 over 1, 3 over 2, 9 over 1, 9 over 2. And so then I simplify them, like this is 1, that's 3, it's 9. And I put them in order from smallest to greatest. And so that's our list. So instead of having all numbers to choose from when you're trying to solve for zeros of a function, we have now broken it down to 12 possibilities, 6 numbers, each with a plus and minus, for the possible rational zeros. So there aren't any other rational zeros that aren't on this list. So if you were trying to guess and check, we now have only 12 numbers to guess and check from, which is much shorter than infinity. So on this problem, instead of just finding all the possible rational zeros, let's find all the ones that are actually zeros. We might want to try factoring. I've tried it with this problem. Factoring doesn't work. So we're going to have to do it with p's and q's. So the p's are all the factors of the constant term, which is 20. So it's 1 times 20, 2 times 10, or 4 times 5. And again, they're plus and minuses because it could be negative times negative. Q's are factors of the leading coefficient. In this case, the leading coefficient would be 1, because there's only 1 x cubed. And again, it's plus and minus because it might be negative 1 times negative 1. So the p's over q's would be 1 over 1, 2 over 1, 4 over 1, 5 over 1, 10 over 1, and 20 over 1. So now we need to pick one of these and try synthetic division. So let's try 1. Now let's do our synthetic division. So we have all our coefficients. We have 1, negative 4, negative 2, and 20. Drop down the first number. Multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. Add. Negative 4 times plus 1. Then multiply. 1 times negative 3. Then add. Then multiply. Then add. Notice that is not a 0 for the remainder. Thus, 1 is not a 0. Remainder is not 0, so we need to try something else. To help with this, maybe we could graph the function on a graphing calculator. The x-intercepts will be the zeros. So find an x-intercept. In this case, -2 appears to be an x-intercept. Even though we can see it's an x-intercept from the graph, we still have to go through the synthetic division, because there might be other zeros that are not x-intercepts or are not rational zeros. Bring down the 1, multiply, add, multiply the -2 times -6 is 12. Add, you get 10. -2 times 10 is -20. Add, and you get 0. So that is a 0. So we know -2 is a 0. So essentially what we've done is we've divided by x minus -2. So we know that's a factor. If we take our depressed polynomial, we can factor it and find the rest of the zeros. Our depressed polynomial will be 1x, it was cubed, so now it's squared. It's depressed, it lost a power, so it's 1x squared minus 6x plus 10. We can try factoring it, but I tried it, it doesn't work. So we're going to use the quadratic formula. Remember, the quadratic formula is -b plus and minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So I filled in a, b, and c. Simplify it. This is 36 minus 40, so that's -4 inside the square root. Square root of -4 is 2i. And then I can divide everything by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So it's 3 plus or minus I. Those are not rational. Their imaginary numbers are not rational. So the rational zeros are just the -2 that we found up here. And that's it for this lesson. Have a good day.